Magnificent international stadium in Cairo, and we bring you the next couple of finals, the men's parallel bars and women's floor competitions. Hope you're looking forward to them. Thanks for your company here on this Monday in the north of Africa. Lovely warm day, not too hot, very pleasant conditions. The women's floor final, and we'll start with Ildora Aripova of Uzbekistan. She was the fifth best in qualification. Chonjin-ah of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, second best in the qualification process, and already now she has competed in two finals here in Cairo. Kalia Namor going for 3 gold medals. She was the third best in the preliminary stage, but really only a fraction behind the leader. Keegan Shaver of Canada, the 8th best in qualification with a score of 11.7. She performed in the vault competition yesterday. Vita Prijanovic of Slovenia, 7th best in qualifying, the score 11.766. And now to the top performer in qualification, Egypt's own Jana Mahmoud, the reigning African champion on floor and in all-around competition. Rose Wu of Canada, 4th best in qualification, a gymnast who's been a Pacific Rim Championships medalist on floor. That was over a decade ago. She has such longevity. And we'll finish with Selina Bousmayo of Morocco, bronze medalist on floor at the African Championships at home in Marrakesh last year. Parallel bars finalists: Nazar Cheperny of Ukraine, 2nd best in qualification. He won the parallel bars title in Doha at the most recent World Cup before this one. There's the top qualifier, the man to beat after the preliminary stage, Noah Seifert of Switzerland. And he has been a European Championship medalist on this apparatus. Niels Dunkel of Germany, 5th best in qualification, 2-time Olympian. A European Championship medalist, now joined by an Asian Championship medalist in this parallel bars final. This is Rasuljon Abdurrahimov. He finished 3rd in Tashkent last year. And now Omar Mohammed, the 11-time champion of Africa and the gymnast who finally, after so much effort, made it onto a World Cup podium yesterday. He took bronze in the still rings. Leo Saladino of France. And now we have the reigning champion of Africa on the parallel bars, Mohamed Afifi. He was the 3rd best in qualification, so there's double home interest here. And we have another of the medalists from those championships in Marrakesh, Hamza Hosseini, who at home was so successful at the African Championships last year. Not only did he win bronze on the parallel bars, he also won the same colours on vault, rings and floor, and he was a team silver medalist. Time for a brief period of contact with the apparatus for all of these finalists. It's a huge moment for African gymnastics because it's the first time that a full podium setup has been used. These are the finalists in the women's floor competition, and the first half will see these gymnasts take to the competition floor. And we're going to be seeing Chon Jin-ah, who was the second best in qualification, and Kelly Namor, who was the third best. But it really has added so much to the look of the arena. The parallel bars final, and in the first half we're going to have the top qualifier, Noah Seifert from Switzerland, a nation with a great parallel bars history. But in the more immediate sense, a great parallel bars history for Nazar Ciperni because he won the last World Cup title. For a few seasons now, the split warm-up system has been in operation. It's been a very good thing for these apparatus World Cups. It gives the gymnasts that much-needed time just to reacquaint themselves with the apparatus, because otherwise they could be facing quite a gap between their pre-competition warm-up and the start of the final itself. And that especially important when you've got a full podium in operation. There is a difference in the behaviour of the apparatus. But it's not just that, it is actually the experience of coming out into this arena. It's a massive arena, this. And the setup is beautiful, but with it comes that sense of nervousness that some of the gymnasts have spoken about as a reality of being new to international competition. And even those who aren't new to international competition talk about it. It's just human behaviour. Oh, look who's filming this one. As the great Oksana Chusevitna watches on, a young but very experienced gymnast from her squad is about to compete. We begin the women's floor final. This is Dildora Aripova of Uzbekistan, the fifth best in qualification. Really energetic and impressive way to begin this women's floor final, courtesy of the 21-year-old from Tashkent. a gymnast who's been an Islamic Solidarity Games champion. She's been on the podium at the Asian Championships. She's been a champion more regionally at the South Central Asian Championships. So a lot of experience, and I'm sure many of you remember back in Bulgaria in 2021, she made her senior international debut and won the floor title. To the men's parallel bars, and we start with the second best in qualification, Ukraine's Nazar Cheperny. 14.066 in the preliminary round. Good straightness of the body, working on the single rail. Oh, that was unfortunate and must have really felt unpleasant as he clonked his foot hard on the rail. Oh dear. Hope that he's okay. Wise move just to stop there and await medical attention. We'll come back to that in a moment as Teodora Aripova waits for her score, having picked up 12.666 in qualification. Now back to Nazar Cheperny. Medical assessment has taken place. Into the Tipelt. Into the Bavzar. No, not quite right. Making the wise decision there, Nazar Cheperny, to go no further with that performance. If in doubt, don't risk it on that dismount. As he was coming back into alignment from the position sideways on to the apparatus, he seemed to really hit his foot and ankle hard. 12.733. Teodora Aripova has improved from qualification. The score is a marginal gain of almost a tenth. Chon Jin-ah of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, second best in qualifying with 12.9. Difficult routine, this. What a great performance from Chon Jin-ah of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. There's some very complicated tumbling going on in that routine, and she executes it with power. .4 was the difficulty score in the preliminary stage, and that was 0.3 higher than anyone else that we saw. Two gymnasts had a 5.1. Next, we'll bring you the top qualifier in the men's parallel bars competition. Just waiting for those final calculations to be done to the score of Nazar Chiponi. Meanwhile, on floor, Chon Jin-ah up from qualification, 12.966. Not quite a full tenth better, but certainly a contending display based on what we saw in the preliminary stage. Discussion still ongoing over at the judges' table. And now we have the number in. It's a score of 11.1 for Nazar Chiponi. But the thing that is of the most significant consequence is how he's feeling after that unfortunate collision. He's had a bit of a wait, a bit of time alone with his thoughts. Noah Seifert of Switzerland, top qualifier. 14.133 in the preliminary round. The gymnast who was on the European Championship podium on this apparatus. Very nice change of position from working sideways on. That was geometrically lovely. Good power in his straddle somersault. Travels well from one end to the other in the Bavzar. Such a nice smooth action going out into handstand to complete the tipelt. And a tidy looking dismount as well from Noah Seifert of Switzerland. Back in the international arena after competing at the Olympic Games. Could she possibly make it 3 titles won at this World Cup? Algeria's Kalia Nemour, bars champion, beam champion, 3rd best in qualification here. She is such a striking all-around performer, Kalia Nemour. And she was the champion of Africa across all 4 pieces in 2023. Great display on floor there. .033 for Noah Seifert is virtually the same as qualifying. He drops a single 10th. .28-year-old Niels Dunkel. First World Cup competition for him since the Olympic Games. Good to see him back. The German gymnast who scored 13.433 in qualification, where he was the 5th best, but with room for the execution to develop. It's going to be a really interesting final, actually, when you consider the low score of the 2nd best in qualification, Nazar Chipurny. Do hope that all is well there for Nazar Chipurny, and if we do get any update, then I'll let you know. Meanwhile, we remind ourselves of this tumbling display from Kalia Nemour. She's such a composed looking performer on floor. There's very good tumbling, but actually the choreographic side to it is very memorable. .5, he has managed to nudge up the execution a fraction. So Niels Dunkel is in the silver medal position. Now this is interesting. 12.966 for Kalia Namor. Puts her into first place. And that was the best score that we saw in qualification. So the whole shape of the final now is a little different. Tegan Shaver of Canada, 8th best in qualification with a score of 11.7. What a great experience it must be for Tegan Shaver to be part of this very strong Canadian squad here in Cairo. Lots of competition miles clocked up by the gymnasts around her who've been guiding her and supporting her. And she's looked really at home in World Cup competition and doubtless will be in collegiate gymnastics as well. An exciting future for her. Rasuljan Abdurrahimov of Uzbekistan, 4th best in qualifying. Very good gymnast on the parallel bars. He was 3rd at the Asian Championships last year. He has been a World Cup medalist as well. This apparatus was what got him to the Games. Took him to Paris after he competed in Tokyo as well. Very secure of his handstands. He's often one of the cleanest gymnasts in terms of execution in finals. Oh, he had a real problem on that landing, regrettably. In terms of when he was actually up there on the apparatus, it was very poised looking, as it tends to be with Rasul Abdurrahimov. 11.6 Tegan Shaver is a 10th down from qualification. And that takes us to the halfway mark of both of these finals. Still to come, just to remind you, we've got the men's horizontal bar final. That will conclude all of the coverage from Cairo, the last World Cup in artistic gymnastics this season, before we move on to World Challenge Cup competition. And as ever, really grateful to you for your company. Thank you for joining this prestigious World Cup event, the first to be held in Africa. It's now a mainstay of the International Gymnastics Federation calendar. And as a nation, Egypt has enjoyed fantastic growth gymnastically. They've got real aspirations of getting onto the podium again today. And it hasn't happened by any peculiar quirk of fate. There's been a great drive here to get more people doing gymnastics, to get the sport more mainstream television coverage and newspaper coverage. And it's amazing when you look at how the numbers have increased. There are now tens of thousands of practicing gymnasts in Egypt, and there were only a fraction of that going back 7-10 years. .866, so he has improved upon qualification by a couple of tenths. Silver medal position at the halfway mark for Rasul Abdurrahimov. This is what's to come in the second half of the women's floor final, and we're going to see the Egyptian crowd get very excited indeed, because the top qualifier is going to be second in this second half. The men's parallel bars final, the second half of the competition. And we're going to be looking at the gymnasts who were 7th, 6th, 3rd and 8th respectively, two of them from the host nation. Both Kaylee Namor and Sean Ginar, by the way, are on the same score in the women's floor final, but Namor with higher execution. Vita Prijanovic of Slovenia, 7th best in qualifying. Another gymnast whose confidence clearly is developing enormously over the course of the season. And just as we said really about Tegan Shaver, you sense that Vita Prijanovic has benefited hugely from having some very experienced gymnasts around her, like Tea Belak, with whom she was chatting after qualification. It's been a very fine season for the Slovenians in the Women's World Cup events. She is an enormous fan of the Gadirovas, by the way, Vita Prijanovic. Now to Omar Mohammed of Egypt. Bronze medalist on the rings, 7th best in qualification here, but with the sort of execution score that could move him up if he can tidy things. And it may be that he's looking a little better here. Certainly the case in that tip belt. Now that was a belter of a routine from Omar Mohammed. Super dismount. Gosh, he's likely to see a very different sort of score. The reigning all-around champion of Africa. The man from another of the great Egyptian cities, Alexandria. He finally had that moment that he dreamed of in the World Cup yesterday. He's somebody who's been rather besieged by bad luck in big competitions. Things have almost gone spot on a few occasions for him. But finally, the World Cup was in his favour. 11.533. Prijanovic very close to qualifying. Only a couple of tenths down. Now to the top qualifier in the women's floor competition. An Olympian. Goodness me, that was a great display from Jana Mahmoud. The top performer in qualification, the gymnast from Giza, across the river from Cairo proper. The reigning all-around and floor champion of Africa. And she actually won the floor title in Cairo in 2022 as well at the African Championships. Now look at this, Omar Mohammed has gone into the gold medal position, 14.033. I thought that execution score was going to look very different from the preliminary round. And I did say he had room to move up the standings, and he really has moved up the standings massively. He was the 7th best qualifier. Gosh, this could be a very exciting few minutes for the Egyptian gymnasts and for the fans. To Leo Saladino of France, 6th best in qualification. Had to really work to get position there after what had been quite a smooth start. Big overarch, pace with the hands. Well done, back under control nicely. Again, just moving in installments to the handstand position. And he actually did extremely well to make that dismount work, considering the effort he'd put in. Has she done it? Has she done it? 12.966 is the leading score at the moment. There's the answer. 13.033. There might well be an Egyptian gold medal. Jana Mahmoud is in first place. We've also got an Egyptian in first place on the parallel bars. But that was so well executed, a floor routine. Now to Rose Wu, the 4th best in qualification. The Canadian takes to the floor. Goodness, did she land that last tumbling pass. Wonderful to have the experience and control of Rose Wu when it comes not just to the tumbling work but the choreography as well on floor. 13.366 for Leo Saladino, 5th position. That has guaranteed that we will have an African champion on the parallel bars, because we have an Egyptian and then a gymnast from Morocco to come. And Omar Mohammed leads on the execution tiebreak ahead of Noah Zeifert. Mohamed Afifi, the reigning champion of this continent on the parallel bars. Very nice gymnast on this piece. He's another who could pop the execution up a little in qualification and move up the standings. Goes with smoothness into his first handstand. Just about held on to that. Little break in form, perhaps. Certainly much clearer there, but a fabulous effort to hold the handstand. Minimise the deduction as best he can. That he got through that with such precision. Mohamed Afifi of Egypt, can he also make it onto the podium? Well, what a day this has been for the Egyptian team. They will be overjoyed, and they're right to be. Rose Wu in 5th position, 12.466. And we are guaranteed an African champion in the women's floor competition as well, because we have an Egyptian leading, an Algerian in 2nd place, and a Moroccan to perform. Selina Bousmayo, bronze medalist at the African Championships last year. And that brings to a close the women's floor final. Selina Bousmayo of Morocco, who was the 6th best in qualifying with a score of 12. Now, where will Mohamed Afifi sit? Not quite, 13.833. A couple of issues with the execution, just keeping him off the podium by hundreds. Rasuljan Abdurrahimov still in 3rd place, but Mohamed of Egypt is guaranteed at least silver. Now we see a gymnast who's been an Arab Games gold medalist, an Arab champion and an African champion, and somebody who won bronze on this apparatus at his home championships in Marrakesh last year. It's Hamza Hosseini to conclude the parallel bars final. Good luck to him. So nice to see him in this final. He's had not the easiest time of things over the course of his career. He's only competed at a couple of world championships. He had a spell of almost 3 years away from international competition. He's talked about a real change in his motivation. Lovely to see that from Hamza Hosseini. Some very nice work. He nods his head. A gymnast who's been on a World Challenge Cup podium. That was on vault in Paris in 2018. He actually trains in France under the great Thomas Bouhay. Selina Bouzmayo scoring 12. So she finishes in 6th position. And we will now be able to bring you the great joy for the Egyptian gymnasts, because in a moment we're going to confirm a fantastic couple of apparatus finals for them. Whatever happens with this last score for Hamza Hosseini. And a very successful couple of finals for gymnasts from this continent. .933, Hamza Hosseini finishing in 7th position. The same score as he produced in qualification, which is a job well done. And all of that means that it is a fairy tale moment for the Egyptian gymnasts and for their fans. Phenomenal. Double gold accomplished in Cairo. Classified results to come. The final standings in the women's floor competition. The bronze medal won by Chon Jin-ah of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Silver to Algeria's Kalia Nemour, and the gold medal won by Jana Mahmoud of Egypt. The reigning African champion has become a World Cup champion, and she's done it at home in Cairo. So let's have a look at the medalists to be. Chon Jin-ah, great moment for her after a tough start to her weekend. She didn't have the easiest time of things in the vault competition. She's really improved since then, and this is a great reward for her tenacious performances. And what about this? Kalia Nemour, 2 gold medals and a silver. It's been a brilliant competition for the Algerian. But there is no doubt about whom the headlines will be written when it comes to the floor final. Delight for Jana Mahmoud, the Olympian, the Egyptian gymnast, who has managed to produce what she did to take the continental title in this big World Cup competition in her home country. She was 8th on floor at the last Cairo World Cup, by the way, a year ago. So my goodness, this is going to feel good for her. Celebrations about to begin. Rasuljon Abdurrahimov of Uzbekistan, the bronze medalist to be in the men's parallel bars competition. He won his first World Cup medal last season in Cottbus. He's equalled that here, same position. Very close, this men's parallel bars final. It came down to the execution criteria. Noah Zeifert, 14.033 with an 8.333 for execution, and that is 0.4 lower than Omar Mohammed. But good things really do come to those who wait. After his bronze medal on the rings yesterday, which he celebrated with so much story in his eyes, you could see what he'd been through to get to that. Well, now the parallel bars gold medal is about to be his. that's assuming that anyone can actually get the Egyptian gymnasts anywhere near the podium, because there are going to be people queuing up for photographs, queuing up to interview them. Here are the classified results in the men's parallel bars competition. Rasuljon Abdurrahimov of Uzbekistan wins bronze. Noah Seifert of Switzerland wins silver. And the gold medal is won by Omar Mohammed of Egypt on the execution tiebreak. We have one more final to bring you, and it is going to get underway in a matter of moments. Let's have a look back at the best of the action so far over those last two finals.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're ending the Cairo World Cup final with one more event, the men's artistic gymnastics high bar. Now, let's give a round of applause to the gymnasts.
We begin with the victory ceremony for the men's parallel bars competition. The winner of the bronze medal, Rasuljon Abdurrahimov of Uzbekistan, his second World Cup honours. Switzerland's Noah Seifert, the winner of the silver medal. A glorious moment this for a gymnast who has dreamt of being at the top of the podium in his home World Cup. The dream comes true for Omar Mohamed of Egypt. A day after he took third place in the rings final, now he is the best in the parallel bars. 11 times a champion of Africa, but something that was missing for him was being recognised at his home World Cup, was getting into the top three. Well, it never rains but it pours for Omar Mohamed. Bronze one day, gold the next. A moment that he will remember for the rest of his life. We'll now hear the national anthem of the host nation, Egypt. The sounds of Biladi, 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 my homeland, my homeland, my homeland. Adopted in 1979, composed by Syed Darwish and Muhammad Yunus El Kadi.
Thank you, and congratulations to the gymnasts.
The victory ceremony for the women's floor competition. Chon Jin-ah of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea wins the bronze medal. A great reward for her participation in 3 finals over the course of this weekend. Kelia Namour of Algeria, the winner of 3 medals at this World Cup, 2 of them gold on the uneven bars and on the beam, now accompanied by silver on floor. What a reception for Jana Mahmoud of Egypt. Champion of Africa in the all-around competition and on floor, and now the World Cup champion. The gold medal being presented by Dr. Ehab Amin, who is the president of the Egyptian Gymnastics Federation. He'll be feeling rather pleased with how it's all gone today. Not that yesterday was anything other than a great success too. The national anthem of Egypt. And there they are, the medalists in the women's floor competition. Well, we have